Plaintiff Autumn Tesson says when she was 17 years old, she ended up in a homeless shelter, and that's where she befriended the defendant. Autumn claims they have always been there for each other, and she loaned him money, but she's suing because she has yet to be repaid. Defendant Brian Richardson says when he was a teenager, he made poor decisions, and he was in and out of prison, and that's how he ended up in a homeless shelter. Brian admits that he borrowed money from Autumn, but soon after he was shot and unable to work.
Start with you.
Well, I met Mr. Richardson about 16 years ago in a homeless shelter. At the time, I was 17 years old. Didn't want to live by my family's rules.
How old was he?
About 18 or 19 at the time.
I was 19 years old.
All right.
Didn't want to live by my family's rules. I could figure it out on my own, so I got my own apartment, was working a full-time job. So needless to say, I spent more time hanging out with my friends at 17 years old than worrying about going to work every day and paying bills. They piled up. I ended up losing everything. I got evicted from my apartment. You know, you lean on the friends that were there for you when you were hanging out, and they're no longer there for you. So I found myself in a homeless shelter at 17 years old, scared to death.
Why couldn't you go home?
Pride. I can do it myself. My family moved out of town in the same year that when I was 17. They moved about an hour from where I was. I wasn't going home. I was going to figure it out on my own. So I landed there, scared. You just don't know. You hear stories of what can happen. I ended up the first day in the shelter out on the patio smoking a cigarette, and I met Mr. Richardson. It was like immediate friendship. He seen how hurt I was and how scared I was. And we were immediately friends.
What you heard about?
Because I did what I had done to myself, and that I couldn't go to work every day and be the responsible person that I should be, even though I was only 17. If I was gonna do it, I should have finished it out.
Gotcha.
So we ended up, like I said, we met. There were a couple other folks that we met in the shelter at the same time. Needless to say, we all ended up very close, like a family.
Was he hurt or happy or what? What was his disposition?
Not seemingly as sad as I was, not crying or anything, but you could tell that he was going through things.
Okay.
Personal, financially, things of that nature. And like I said, a bunch of us met, about 4 or 5 of us met. We just immediately became friends. If one didn't have somewhere to live, one of us did, we took them in. If one needed something, we made sure the other one got whatever it is that they needed.
How long did you all stay there?
In the homeless shelter?
Yes.
About 2 months.
All right. And how were you able to come out?
I was able, got on welfare, was able to find an apartment, moved into an apartment, again by myself, and kind of lived off of the system for a while. After not too long, though, I kind of figured it out and said, something's got to change. I can't continue along this path. I went back to college. Went to college full-time. I was working full-time while I was going to school full-time.
Did you finish?
I did, sir. I have
How
an
many
associate's
years?
degree.
Good.
In human services.
Did you start working immediately?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, sir.
All right. And when did you finish college?
In 2003.
Oh, okay. So you've graduated, you began working, and you all stayed in touch, obviously?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And did you all start a relationship?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. I was actually very good friends with, he was married.
Okay.
I was very good friends with his wife for a good amount of years.
Plaintiff Brian Richardson was friends with the plaintiff, and he claims after he borrowed money from her, he was shot.
All right, let me hear your side.
right.
Background.
How you doing today, Judge?
Good.
Basically, everything she's saying is correct. I was 19 years old at the time. Seen this innocent-looking girl on the smoke patio, went out there, had a conversation with her. We've been friends ever since. We've always looked out for each other, like we had a few friends that always looked out for each other. Over the whole course of this 16 years, we've been friends, kept in communication.
In what way, looking out for each other?
I mean, like if she needed anything from a pack of cigarettes to $100, I would give it to her, or she would give it to me, or just an ear to listen to, or a piece of advice or something, So, like we were in the homeless shelter. Once we got out, we continued to push each other to go forward. I made some bad choices. That's what ended me up in the homeless shelter. I used to be into drugs, a whole bunch of crime, in and out of jail. My parents didn't want me to keep living at home because they tried to discipline me and I was still rebelling. So I took it upon myself. I beat on my chest. I said I was a man and fell down. So I ended up in a homeless shelter.
Okay. And what happened from there? You want to bring me up to 2003 as she did, and then we'll...
Okay, so I was doing the same thing. I had numerous jobs and was trying to lift myself up as well. I ended up getting in more trouble because of my poor choices that I made. And
so you tried to lift yourself up, but you got back in trouble.
Yeah, a couple times.
Did you
and
go
I had
to
friends
prison?
like her. Yes, I did. Yes, I did, sir. I served prison time and everything.
So the lift yourself up part, I want to know about.
The lift myself up part didn't come till later.
Gotcha.
It came till later when I was about 27, 28, had my first daughter. And
What'd you do?
I got a job and I stuck and went to work every day.
Good.
I got a trade. I'm a cook myself. And that's
Good.
basically it.
All
Over
right.
the years, I went to work every day.
How'd you get the trade?
Through work experience. I didn't go to a school or anything. I just work experience. I worked my way up from the bottom, right from dishwasher
Good.
to prep cook to a cook,
Good.
And when
you
I
had a
became
child
married,
and been all right since? How old are you now?
No, I haven't been all right since. I've been all right since in the respect that I haven't gotten in any more trouble, but I haven't been all right since in the respect that I got shot last year,
How so? Anything?
When I moved back to Rochester, New York, what happens to be the murder capital of New York State, I went with a friend who had bought a car, and he was trying to retrieve the title for the car. And the guy came out the house with a gun, and I just happened to be the closest one there.
But you haven't gotten in any trouble?
No.
And
no,
then
sir.
you resume working, obviously, hopefully after you healed?
Just 2 or 3 months ago.
So, all right, good. And let me ask you about this loan you're suing him for.
Okay, well, like I said, we've been in contact all through the course of 16 years. About April, the second to last week of April of 2013, Mr. Richardson contacted me and said, look, me and my wife are going through it. We're getting divorced. I want to come home. Can you help me? Absolutely. His family's here. This is where he's from. If he wants to come back here, of course I'm going to help him. So I went right down to Fort Wayne, Indiana, at the very, very beginning, first of May, I believe. Got Mr. Richardson. We packed up some things. I brought him back to Rochester with me. I gave him $3,500, i.e. for first month, last month security deposit.
When was that again?
That was May 1st with his...
May 1st of 13?
2013. Yes.
When was he to repay it?
So he had the job secure, and I was going to expect repayment from what he told me from that following year's taxes, because he has worked. I know.
That's what you get for not watching me often enough. You don't. As I tell people, when you get that, I'll pay you on my income tax. That's just as good as telling you I'm not going to pay you. All right.
I had no reason not to believe it.
I know,
Like I
because
said,
you don't
we've
watch
done
me.
this
I got
before.
you. I know.
I do.
Well, a lot of times people pay a heavy price for not watching the judge. In this case, you paid $3,500.
Right.
It'd been cheaper watching me. I'm free. You don't even need cable. I'll come on regular television. All right, and so obviously he hasn't paid. And sir, how did you lose your wife? What happened there? How did you lose your family?
Just a difference in lifestyles. We both grew up a little bit.
How long were you married?
I was married for 7 years.
Yeah, so you're presenting yourself as a very good role model for ex-offenders today. There's this belief that many folks, when they come from prison, not only are they unable to start a family, but they don't take care of the family and it doesn't last and they go back into a life of crime. So you did it correctly, and I applaud you for doing that.
Now, on that note, I want to say, Your Honor, sorry for interrupting, but on that note, I want to say when I got out of jail the last time, I made a personal promise to myself that I wouldn't involve myself in those activities anymore for my daughter and for my family. And I stayed all the way from that, changed people, places, and things, all of that. That's why I moved. Part of the reason I moved to Indiana was to get away from the things that I was doing in Rochester, New York.
Good, getting away from that, the element of temptation. Good.
Plaintiff Brian Richardson was friends with the plaintiff, and he claims after he borrowed money from her, He was shot.
So tell me about the loan.
Okay, so during the process of my separation, I had told Autumn about my situation, telling her I wanted to come back and be around family and friends because I didn't have a lot in Fort Wayne, Indiana. She said she could help me. She was in a position to help me. She had a good job. She knew I was a good guy. I told her I had arranged for a job back in Rochester, New York, working at, ironically, a gun factory, and I was shot a month and 1 week later after I got there. I had full intentions of paying her with my tax return, but during the process of my divorce, my wife made it so that I couldn't claim my kids on my tax return, in turn giving me less money on my tax return, a lot less money.
So you don't have a defense today?
I do have a defense. Like, it was a month and a week after I got there that I got shot. I had a job when I got shot, and I was fully intending on giving her some money, but it took me 5 or 6 months.
Have you given her anything?
No, I didn't.
It's been over a year.
I know. When I first got shot, she told me take my time, get back on my feet. I've only been recently started working about 2.5 months ago, you know.
2.5 months ago is the first time you've worked since May of 2013.
Yes, sir.
Is that true?
No, June 2013.
Yeah, is that true?
It is, sir.
All right, but he is working now. That's your point, I guess.
Yeah, kind of at this point, I'm just like,
and in 2.5 months, you probably should have shown her some good faith. You may not have been able to, but I don't know. If you'd have given her $50 or $100, she still may have sued you. So good faith or no good faith,
right.
She wants her money, and I have to give it to her. That's not a legal defense. $3,500 is your judgment. Have a
Your
good
Honor,
day.
could I say something real quick?
Sir.
I didn't want to lose a friend over this, you know, and I feel like I haven't talked to her in a couple months. Could I just give her a hug real quick?
Absolutely. Y'all friends. There you go. There you go.
I want to continue being your friend.
Absolutely. I feel like I lost half my life with this whole situation, and I didn't really want it to come to this, but I need it. I mean, I don't know what to say.
I understand.
And I love you.
Yeah, I love you too, and I'm sorry.
Are you having problems collecting rent from your former roommate? If so, ask me about it on my website, askjudgemathis.com.